Hey YouTube, welcome to Beyond the Hype, the series I created to cut through the clickbait that you see with new Pokemon and hyping them up and everything to give you an in-depth analysis of whether they are good or not and their pros and cons and whether they are worth investing in. Today we're looking at Steelix. Steelix this is the Great League ranking at number 10. I'm going to go over the Ultra League in a second, but in Ultra League it is ranked number 2 as a non-shadow and 6 as a shadow. So definitely would be considered a top meta here. I do think it is extremely strong. I do not think it's OP, like overpowered. Everyone's like, oh, this is breaks the meta, we need to change the move. I don't think so at all. I think there's very easy ways to beat it, and then I'll show you why. But I will show you why I do believe it is stronger in the Ultra League than it is a Great League. So in the Great League we have rank 10. So again, if you haven't used Steelix before, it's a steel ground with fighting, fire, ground, and water. So one of the main reasons, there's two reasons I think it's weaker in the Great League. One is the Great League meta is essentially fighting, ground, and water, right? You have Swamperts and Lanterns and Medicham, and now like Diggersby is coming into the mix here. And you have Registeel with like Focus Blast. So there's just Galarian Stunfisk as a ground. There's just everything in the main meta that now Zoomerl's coming in, Venusaur's coming back, like everything in the main meta that you see that is in like the top like 10 to 15 that everyone uses, like Steelix is gonna have a problem against. So that's the first problem. If you go look at the matchups here, again, like so in the Great League, 26 and 17 record, right? Just everything I named. I didn't even 8 Ninetales, which has the ice, but it's a fairy, so resist there. Again, water fairy, fighter, steel, Medicham, Lantern, Medicham, Quagsire, right? Diggersby, now you're getting into your fighters, yada. Venusaur set coming back, Registeel, right? So a ton of meta Pokemon. Even some of like the other meta Pokemon are just like really close. Like you beat Gligar, but Gligar's coming up everywhere now. You do have some good wins against like some other Pokemon, but for that reason, I think it's not as good in the Great League because of the matchups. And the second thing is, look at these stats. So what you get, one of the pros of Ultra League is you get this extra bump in stats. So this is the Great League. Looking at this sort of total stamina, like overall stat product, like super high defense, it's super bulky, which makes it a pretty overall high stat product. Below like legendaries, but that's expected. But where you get like comparables is like non-legendary Pokemon who are also like good in this meta. So like Medicham 2100, Noctowl before the buff 2114, Lantern same thing 2131, right? So they're all within like striking distance of Steelix in terms of its bulk. Now that we go to Ultra League, I'm going to look at the bulk first because here we are. So like, yes, you're going to lose to the legendaries Registeel, but then you start thinking of like the other Pokemon, even just like XL Pokemon here that you would normally see. So like, again, Greedent is a top XL Pokemon, like 400 below you. Tapu Fini is a legendary, 600 stat product below you. Double is a full XL Pokemon here, 700 stat product below you. Like the Swampert, we don't even need to check. Like, I mean, I'll check Swampert, but Swampert is just very attack heavy, so that's not surprising that it's pretty far below. And that's the thing. Like, you get in the Ultra League, that extra bulk is you get the extra bulk compared to these other Pokemon. And one of the things that I noticed playing with this and playing against it, I actually built my team to have one of the hardest counters in Tapu Fini against it. I'll go over my team in a second. I ran Steelix, Tapu Fini, and Trevenant. One other thing I noticed was when I went against Steelix, throwing like a Shadow Ball I threw a C-Bomb one time and I was just like, oh, this did like nothing. And same thing, a lot of the moves that were thrown on me, unless they were like for super effective, it's just like you take like 3-4. So the extra bulk makes a substantial difference in the Ultra League. In terms of matchups, there actually is, I think it's comparable to the Great League, quite honestly, except maybe I was going to say a little less meta, but it's not less meta, and this is why I don't think it's overpowered. So I used Tapu Fini today, a fairy that is a fairy water, so water gun surf. It's and I'll show. I'm positive. I'm pretty sure I have the matchup. Where it's just like I went against the Steelix, I throw water guns, they get to an earthquake, they do an earthquake, it does like just over 50%, and then I easily take it out before it gets the next earthquake. They have to like breaking swipes me for super resistant moves. So there's answers: Cabalion, Stunfisk, Scrafty, Machamp, A9 Teals. I think is gonna come up a bunch now. Even again, Registeel with the Focus Blast, Swampert, Escab. I tried to use, couldn't use it well today though. But like Virizion, I saw everywhere today. I saw Greninjas a bunch today. So this is why I don't think it's OP. I think that there are so many main of Ultra League metas that will keep this in check. But because it has that extra bulk, you really feel that extra bulk in like all these matchups. Like the fact that you beat Jellicent when Jellicent gets to super effective surfs every like 4-3-3, just going breaking swipe, it just shows you like the power of it. And same thing, like Asand Slash. I played Asand Slash today. They had an energy advantage. I'm guessing this you need to land a earthquake. Yeah, you need to land an earthquake. So that's kind of a fake one. But like pretty much all these other matchups, like Greedent, I'm using a Greedent on the other end on my second team, and same thing. Like I had Mudshot advantage, and just like the Mudshots crunch are not going to get you where you need to be because of the breaking swipe. So with a lot of these matchups, you can just go straight like breaking swipes, and then because you can tank so much, it's basically makes it super strong. I will run the Shadow because people ask me like Shadow versus non-Shadow here. Let me make sure I max my stat product here, so we have a comparable. 27-20. So you have more losses, and that is not surprising to me. And I'll tell you why. And it's because the ones you're going to lose anyways, right? Type of thing, like all these fighters and stuff that you're going to lose anyways. Where you're now losing is these other Pokemon that can get to like the Jellicent with the Surfs and the Golysopods with the Liquidations. The Wall Range too. It's these other Pokemon that are now the damage output you do with Dragon Tail and Breaking Swipes does not make up for the extra damage that you were taking. And the extra damage you were taking with these super effective moves make you a little bit worse. So I personally would probably go with the non-Shadow. If you have a Shadow and you want to build it up, go for it. Like it's not going to be, just know that when you get into these matchups here against Pokemon that have other moves to throw at you that are super effective, that would otherwise, like I think Liquidation would probably take like 3 moves non-Shadow, but it probably only takes 2 here. Yeah, they shield 1 Liquidation here, and then you go 1-2. Whereas opposed to if this was non-Shadow and you start lowering their attack, my guess is that they probably need 3 Liquidations. They do, right? This one does not take you out, and that's the difference. So it's going to be in those matchups there where they have a move to throw at you that's super effective, but they just may not, in the non-Shadow, it wouldn't take you out in that one. But they are now Surf there, probably Icicle Spear or Earthquake here, would take you out. So with that in mind, let's look at the team, because I still think it is a very strong Pokemon. Again, I don't think it's OP, and you're going to see, because I went against a bunch of Steelix today. I wouldn't use this team per se, because I'm actually, like, I had a couple core breakers here, like, not core breakers, but like Asand Slash does well against Trevenant and Steelix, and then Drapion, right? Drapion does, well, I think just Drapion was running Aqua Tail, so I remember sneaking by it there. So let's look at some battles. You'll see it in action on my team and on others' teams. So this is the one where I had to use that as a safe swap. And this is what I'm talking about. Like these matchups, I think this one threw Crunch a bunch of times, and it's just like, okay, like, so what? I can take like 3, 4. Those are the ones that you don't matter. I got so far ahead on energy. The problem is Shuriken charges so fast, and Hydro Cannon, even though I lowered the attack, I'm going to shield once just because I know they're going to get another one off. And so I'd rather just shield up the one before the second Breaking Swipe, because the second Breaking Swipe will lower the attack again. So I will definitely live this one here. We both have 3-turn fast moves, so there's not much I can do. I will get this third one off here just to force a shield from them. or take switch. Now, they end up coming Giratina, and this is where they tried to, I think, claw me down, and this is where just like your bulk shows substantially. So again, breaking swipes, Dragon Tail just chipping. They eventually come in here, try to poison jab me down, also resisted. They have to throw. And this is when they made the mistake and they showed Aqua Tail. So one, I don't know why they didn't use Aqua Tail the first time around, but what that allowed me to do is be like, okay, you only have Aqua Tail Crunch. I can just come in here safely, basically get a bunch of charge moves off, but also not need to shield any of yours. And then I'll have to go Trevenant with what is left over here. I forget if we've seen the other Pokemon yet. So just taking these crunches, that's fine. I'm going to just farm down. I'm going to go aggressive farm down, take another crunch. I have a move. I believe I bank it. Oh, the Giratina. Because the Giratina could come. Yeah, I forgot. The Giratina comes and snipes me. But I'm like, that's not bad because now you're a little more energy dry. So I think my win condition is just shielding up a Shadow Sneak, hopefully correctly. And I do. And just committing to the farm down. So, like, I'm basically at 2 seed bombs. So the thing is, like, I could have thrown because I'm one claw away from 2 seed bombs. Plus I had a surf. But I thought, like, at this point, like, my win condition is probably just claw down. And it was. So I get that claw through the game gamed itself, but Kingdra lead here. So sort of neutralist situation. So I'm going to go to the Shadow Ball, but bait. My assumption when you're running a Kingdra is that you want to try for the Octazooka to lower the opponent's attack substantially. So I figured that they would shield the first one up, and I figured that they'd throw the Octazooka. I was correct in both. Unfortunately, 50% hits me and lowers my attack. So at this point I was like, can I get to 2? It's either 2 C-bumps would maybe take this out, but I'm like, I don't know if I can actually, since they upped the energy, I don't think I can actually get to it. So I'm coming in here and just doing this. I kind of make a mistake here, but not really, because I just want to absorb. So if I came Tapu, oh, they outraged me instead of that. So that was a mistake on their end. Because if they Octazooka me, that would have been super effective, but it wouldn't have done much, and I'm getting this advantage here. I can now Breaking Swipe, lowering their attack, just to do this, just because, again, if you haven't played Charizard versus Tapu, it's a terrible matchup, but it's not a terrible matchup, because this isn't even a Shadow. I lowered its attack, and just between the Wing Attacks and Blast Burns, I really don't want to go to the red, so I think I'm going to Shield here. And again, the Shadow version would do much more, right? So I think even a Shadow lowering the attack would have taken out, but between that and the Shield, I'm okay there. So Registeel lead, good lead, obviously. Going straight Shadow Ball here. They're not getting out, which is interesting because this is not a good matchup for Registeel. They can hit me with the Zap Cannon, but it's going to take me to like basically half, if that, not even, yeah. And they come in Virizion. It's like, okay. Also, Core kind of breaker on the back end, not Virizion per se, because I guess I am resisting the counters, but if they have like a Leaf Blade, that would be a little more trouble. Luckily, they do Stone Edge me. I'm just going to try and chip here with Seed Bomb. And they shield. And so I then had to make a decision here, and I thought they've shown Stone Edge. I have seen people run Leaf Blade and Stone Edge, but I'm most likely they're just running. They are running the Sacred Sword and Stone Edge. So I'm going to just take that chance, and I was right. I'm going to shield here because, again, Zap Cannon would take me out. If they lower my attack, which they do, still just commit to the full farm down, and then I'll probably reset. Yeah, as you can see, I'm just instant, like, get me out of here. I'm trying to reset, and I'm like, maybe I should see what it is first. I'm assuming something comes in. So the Hitmontop comes in. And this is where your sort of like bulk just comes into play, and your speed of Breaking Swipe comes into play. So lowering the attack substantially. So even now, if they close combat me, these counters are adding up. But even if they close combat me, because I lowered their attack and I have so much bulk, I live like relative ease. And then I farm down there. I now add another Breaking Swipe, which will lower their attack again. So they could commit to the farm down. here, which I think they do. But then I was like, okay, I lowered their attack. They're real. I don't think a close combat lowered beats me here. So the only win condition is triple axle and then boosting their close combat. So I kind of figured like they really only had one win condition there. And this is why I think Hitmontop's a little overrated, because like between Jellicent and Tapu in this league, it's kind of risky to run something that you can't throw any move at. Golisopod, again, a tricky one. I could come in Steelix here. I'm surprised I'm not coming in Steelix. They eventually come in Steelix, and here you go. If you are worried about Steelix, here is your Steelix counter. I'm just going to get to the Surf right away. I don't expect to break and swipe first. I expect the Earthquake first, but let's just chip this as much as you can. And then you're going to see Earthquake does like 50%. Dragon Tails are resisted. They're going to get to a break and swipe, which sucks. Like, they're going to lower my attack, but so what? Like, easy, non-threatening. I don't need to worry about it. I'm still have a full Moonblast coming out, and I can throw it right at the Golisopod right away. So this is kind of this. There's a lot of answers for Steelix in this league. That's why it's not OP. In neutral situations, it's pretty strong. But there's a lot of things in non-neutral situations. And even the neutral situations, like I had my Greedent on their Steelix. I threw straight crunches. I maybe got one crunch, like lowering their defense. They threw 4 breaking swipes at me. It took a lot to take me out. And my Greedent was in like they took me out, but their Steelix was like in like the deep yellow, maybe even red. So even in like some sort of like neutral matchups, yes, it's great, but it's not like oh, I'm gonna beat you and come out with 70% health and a break and swipe. It's like, no, like I'll beat you, you're gonna chip me a ton. I'm probably not gonna have a ton of energy left. So yeah, again, I've already seen a couple like this thing is OP. It needs break and swipe needs to change or something. It's like no, it is strong. It will be a staple in this meta. I expect to see because of it, I expect to see an uptick in Tapu Finis. I expect to see an uptick in a Sandslash. Golisopod is actually very, very strong. I ran into it a couple times today. I'm just like, oh, I'm having trouble against you. So Golisopod's strong. So I think there are a few more Pokemon that you are going to see here as an answer to it. But again, I think it'll be very strong in this meta. It is not overpowered. It's one of the top ranked. Would I even consider it the top ranked? Like, I mean, I don't have a Registeel. If I had a Registeel, I would love to use it. I would probably, I do think it actually deserves a top 10. Like whether it's number 2 or not, that's up for debate in my opinion. Because I think there's just a lot of answers to it. But at this point, I would put it in the top 10, like Registeel, Steelix, Cobalion. Yeah, I guess so. Giratina Altered, again, still there. But again, with more Tapus coming in, I expect more like a Ninetales. Giratina is tricky to me now because I expect more Tapus, which is kind of like a neutral matchup actually. It's actually, if you have Claw and Sneak, you're actually pretty good there. But I expect more a Ninetales with Powder Snow coming in. I expect more. I guess you would also expect more like counter users. So Giratina might not be bad, but I expect more A Sandslashes in the same. So hit and miss on Giratina. Swampert's still good. Tapu Fini, I think, is at number 14. I think it's going to be really good. So yeah, I think it is probably worth a top 5, top 10 investment at this point. Overpowered? No. Super good? Yes. That is my conclusion that I have now repeated multiple times as we watch these battles, and like just the it's the bulk that does it for me. Just being able to like live so much and lower the opponent's attack and set you up nicely in these other matchups. Now that the resisted Zap Cannon does like a third on you on this Trevenant. They're going to double shield. I feel bad for them. They're like me. They actually throw 2 zap cannons and 67% chance, and neither of them lower my attack. So I'm like, oh, I feel you, man. I've been there multiple times. So next is Greedent. I think I got a team. I really struggled with Greedent. I did well with this team. I went, despite the couple like flaws in it, like Asan / lead is tough. The Drapion is tough for 2 of them. Golisopod is very tricky too, actually. So, like, I maybe not this exact team. I did go. What did I go with this team? Maybe 6-2, something like that. But need some workarounds in some of the matchups. This one, I should have come Steelix. This was a huge mistake. And I had this on the other end too with my Greedent against a Tapu that came in, and just if they have an advantage, it's just like, oh, this thing is spamming the crap out of you. So if they shield the moon blast properly, I bait. But I remember my opponent went straight moon blast, and it was just like it was the easiest flip I've ever done in the mid game. So I should have come Steelix. It was dumb to come in here. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I went like 6-2 theme. Again, you can trade Trevenant. I think Tapu and Steelix form a very, very strong combo. I think your toughest problem would be Registeel, which is why I put Trevenant personally in here, right? Otherwise, Steelix is like weak to like Fighter, Swampert, Fairy. So like Tapu deals with pretty much all of those, which is why I think it is a very, very strong combo there. Again, backline's a bit weak to Registeel, so that's why I put Trevenant. You don't have to put Trevenant. You can just try something else that you think works. But yeah, that's the team. Trying to think what else I need to talk about. I talked about shadow versus non-shadow. I talked about its bulk, talked about its hard counters, talked about how I think the meta is going to shift a bit. I think that's basically all the main stuff I'm going to talk about. Oh, book an extra half an hour in your day for battles if you're going to run this thing. Because, again, because you have so much bulk and because you can live so much and because Breaking Swipes doesn't do much, like, all these battles go to, like, the last minute of play. I had a couple countdown clocks. It just takes so long. So add another, like, 20 to 30 minutes in your day if you're going to run Steelix on a bunch of teams, or you're going to see a bunch of Steelix. So I expect a lot longer games, and Greedent too, right? So expect many, many longer games here with these Pokemon. That's probably about it. It does take a lot of XLs. Like, I think mine, I think it's 296 actually, and I think it's like 360 or something crazy for a shadow. Why is my PC running low? Oh no. Okay, don't move. I gotta plug my. I thought I did that when I came down. This computer, because I think I've covered everything, and there's like 2 minutes of battles left. So we can just go a little off topic here. I bought this computer. It's a Nitro 5. It's an Acer gaming computer, gaming Nitro computer. I did it because it was like great reviews for like the processing, and it's been great for, I streamed a couple times and I haven't had any issues with it. So from that, and I'm uploading like a ton, I have like thousands of like GIFs of Pokemon and clips here, and it's great. It's very great at running. I had a full health battery on this. I brought it upstairs for 25 minutes to edit this video. I already had because I knew what team I was going to run. So I already had this, so I just needed to edit the battles. So I had 25 minutes of editing the battles. And then I'm down here. I'm now 24 minutes into this video, and I get a low battery. This battery lasts like 40 minutes, and it's like a year and a half old. It's so the battery's terrible. Luckily, I'm always plugged in, so it usually doesn't matter, but come on. Primarina, yeah. I get the idea of Primarina. Maybe you want to run Water Gun Primarina? I don't know. But take it out. They're gonna, they can maybe farm me down. But again, this is where I didn't know I had to move here, or else I would have thrown. But does not matter. I freaking live like 60% health. I live a Focus Blast from Registeel, and then I lower his attack and I take it out because I can't lock him in. So yeah, the bulk is real. The bulk is real. And you feel it, and you feel the difference in that, and you feel the strength of this Pokemon overall. Not broken though. So yeah, expect more teams with. I'm gonna try Greeting for sure. I'm still debating. I don't have a good lower. My Gliscopod in the Great League is like 112, 15 right now. So it would be a great Ultra League one. I just don't have a replacement for Great League, and I feel like I would use it more in like Great League and limited formats and cups and stuff like that in Great League right now than I would in just in Ultra League. So I'm hesitant to build that up. I expect to use A9tails. I really want to just use A9tails a bunch, especially if you're going to see an uptick in Steelixes. Again, I've already seen a couple content creators be like, this is OP, this is super strong, you need to use this Pokemon. So I think a lot of people will start using it. Yeah, it's now rank 2. So I think a lot of people will use this Pokemon, or they're going to counter it. And if they're going to counter it, your best answers are fighters, ground, and water. Or and fairies. I think there's probably going to be an uptick in fairies. Because if we're going to see an uptick in fighters, and you can run a fairy like Wheezing or even Slurpuff that has Flamethrower, like you're in a pretty good situation. So I would not be surprised if you see an uptick in those fairies, plus Taboo is one of the best answers. So I would see an uptick in all these fairies. So maybe you might want to think about poisons, like Tentacruel. Tentacruel could be a nice core breaker for like the poisons. I mean, for the fairies, and have Scald to throw at Steelix. So it's a nice option there. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this meta shakes out in the next little bit here. But that is it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.